let's run through some free agent wide receiver names. The premise here is that Tee Higgins is not available. You have to assume that Tee Higgins is not available, and now you're looking at some of the other options. We'll go through this lightning round style, Greg, because we've got a number of names. Let's start with Chris Godwin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How interested are you in Godwin if you're the Pats?
Big time, yes. I mean, look, he's coming back from the dislocated ankle. It's all going to be on the medicals with him. But considering the season that he was off to last year, I thought he really flourished when Liam Cohen moved him into the slot, for the Bucs, which is something that he could do here for the Patriots. Certainly be part of the mix there. Smart player, tough player, clutch at times, has won a Super Bowl. If I'm the Patriots and Tee Higgins is really off the board, probably Chris Godwin would be at the top of my list on somebody that we have to get. I don't think he's going to be hugely expensive. Not that I care how expensive these people are because they're not my money. But I'm a big time into Godwin.
Of course, the biggest questions with Godwin are the injuries, serious ankle injury that cost him the rest of his season last year, had an ACL a few years ago. He was on pace for 121 catches and 1,400 yards last season with the Bucs before he got hurt. He got hurt in garbage time, which is just a brutal situation for him because he was on his way to a likely multi-year deal for some pretty good money, and now you kind of question what he's going to make. The interesting part you said, Greg, is, the slot, and that's where Cohen moved him back to. And of course, you have a lot of guys that can kind of play that slot position. I think you could look at Bourne as a possibility. You can look at Pop Douglas, but Godwin is better than both of those guys. So you would have to maybe make a correlating move to your current roster to put Godwin where he's best. And I think the Patriots would be willing to do that because of the upgrade as long as he stays healthy. Amari Cooper.
I'm a no on Amari Cooper. Always have been. I mean, I guess if you strike out in different places, I might be open to it. He's not a bum, but this is a guy who sort of disappeared when he went to Buffalo playing with Josh Allen. The book on him is he's not very tough and he doesn't like to play in the cold. And I've just never been a big fan of Cooper's.
A lot of his offense in 2023 was, thanks to some big plays and back shoulder throws. And when you took those out of the mix in 2024, he wasn't the same guy. He had 41 receiving yards in 3 playoff games. And what might be even more telling is the Bills used Cooper on only 38% of their offensive dropbacks. So, by the end of the year, they just didn't believe in him. So he would not be very high up on my list in free agency. Stephon Diggs.
I'm not totally opposed. I mean, look, he's coming off the ACL, and I know he's gotten a bum rap as far as what happened in Buffalo and what went down, and even when he was with the Vikings, certainly runs his mouth a lot. But I do think he's matured a little bit. I think he was good. The Texans raved about him as far as his influence in the building. I wouldn't be opposed to it, but at his age, how good is he going to be coming back from ACL? Maybe a year out, he'd be a little bit better, but this might be a little bit too soon.
I'd be interested if the number made sense. And, if you look at the advanced metrics, if you look at some of the analytics, he was actually much better than people would realize last year before he got hurt with that ACL, but he's got the ACL. And I would also have to know if he wants to be here. And like, is the Patriots an opportunity that he's actually into? Because if he's somebody who's just, the Patriots are offering me a ton of money and maybe I'll just take the money, then by the middle of the year, he might be a malcontent. And then you got all sorts of issues, which you don't want to run into with this specific wide receiver room, especially. So I'd have to know that he legitimately likes the idea of playing for Vrabel, Josh McDaniels, and he thinks the world of Drake May before I even entertain the thought, but I'd be in if the number made sense. Keenan Allen.
I'm a no. I think he's steeply on the decline. I don't think he was a great influence, not as great as we thought he was going to be in Chicago as far as, on the room, on the young quarterback. I mean, maybe if you're begging and, scraping the bottom, I would think about it. But I mean, look, he's going to be 33 this season. I think he's toast.
One of the questions you're going to ask is, how much the Chicago offense impacted him, because, even Roma Dunze and DJ Moore saw some of their numbers kind of drop, especially when you look at the next gen stat stuff. But I would lean towards you, Greg. I think his best days are well past him, and he had trouble getting open last season consistently. So that's a problem. And he also he dropped 8 of the 117 targets thrown his way, which, by the way, he was the only receiver who ran 400 routes and posted a higher drop rate. The only guy who had a higher drop rate was Alan Lazard of the Jets. So usually pretty sure-handed. He had the dropsies last year. Just looks like a guy who was well on the back nine.
And that's a sign, Nick. When you start to see that with these receivers, that means that the legs are gone. And Lazard's the same way. I mean, these are older veteran. When these guys start to drop the ball, it means because their legs aren't there anymore.
All right, let's get to the next tier. We'll do this quickly. Darius Slayton, in or out?
I'm a 50-50. I think, he's all right. He's solid. I think, in a better situation, he could be better. He's a pro. He's a good, I like him. Not opposed to it.
Mike Williams.
I'd be willing to take a low risk, low salary bet on him, because this was his past year was his first year back from serious injury. He might be better. I mean, you might get a bounce back this year.
I don't know if we would categorize him as a Vrabel guy. Maybe we would. He played for Mike Vrabel in Tennessee. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine.
Yeah, I'm in on him. I like him. I think he's he's always been dependable, durable, not the flashiest of guys, but a good pro. Certainly they know him well. On a mid-sized deal, I wouldn't be opposed to adding him to the room.
DeAndre Hopkins.
I would need to dive into a little bit more of like what the issue was in KC. His ineffectiveness there really surprised me. I like DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, I still think that he might be getting in the Keenan Allen range, though. The same sort of thing with the drops, with the legs. Like, is that going on with him, or does he have another couple of years left? I mean, I do like the idea of him as sort of a reliable, just put it on him type of guy. Seems like it would be more of a fit for a Patriots style offense than maybe a KC offense. So I'm not totally out on D-Hop.
Hollywood Brown.
No. This is too. I mean, I can only assume that KC didn't like him. That means the Ravens and the Chiefs both didn't like him. Didn't look like Mahomes had much faith in him. The Ravens quickly got rid of him. No, he just strikes me as a guy who doesn't take this all that seriously, doesn't study enough. The Patriots have enough of those guys in the building already.
Blast from the past, Brandon Cooks.
Not opposed to it. If something happens and you get down there, look, he knows the scheme. 1 year deal. I wouldn't be opposed to it. He's still pretty productive.
All right, last guy in the free agency market we'll talk about is Demarcus Robinson from the Rams.
I like Robinson. I think he's a little bit underrated. Not a big money guy, but yeah, somebody I would consider.
Got to keep an eye on his DUI in January. Not to say that we'll
let
him off, but he does have that thing going on.